Thank you. You may be seated. Our special guest of honor, a Chief Justice Zondo, a Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, and Mrs. Zondo, and the entire family of the Zondo family, the Mklenge family, and special guests of the Chief Justice, good evening. Former President Motlanthe and Mrs. Motlanthe, Deputy Chief Justice Maya, the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, the National Chairperson of the Council of Provinces, Ms. Mtsweni Tsipane, Minister Simelane, MP, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Deputy Minister Nel, MP, Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, the Justices of the Constitutional Court, as well as those of the Supreme Court of Appeal, the heads of the Superior Courts, the heads of the lower courts or the Magistrates Court, and all members of the judiciary present here tonight, the retired Chief Justice Mogoeng and Mrs. Mogoeng, the retired justices of the Constitutional Court in our midst, heads of Chapter 9 institutions, the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice, the heads of department and Director Generals with us this evening, as well as other senior officials, representatives from the legal profession, members of the media in attendance, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Nonkosi Mhlanhla. I'm the program director tonight, together with my sister, Justice Zukisa Chikri, from the Constitutional Court, as we mark the retirement of our colleague, the Chief Justice of this country, Chief Justice Mnyamezeli Mlungisi Raymond Zondo, usohlaza, usokhulu, from active duty as a Chief Justice and as a judge of the Constitutional Court. The program is relatively short, and that is deliberate. This is because the farewell events is done tonight, being the farewell dinner, and tomorrow we have a special court sitting where a number of guests, a number of speakers will pay tribute to the Chief Justice. These speakers will be from the judiciary, the executive, parliament, and the legal profession. We hope to make tonight's event a memorable one, filled with laughter and fun, as we express our gratitude to the CJ for his role as our colleague, friend, and head of the judiciary. Colleagues and friends will pay tribute to the Chief Justice. First, we must ensure that you are welcome and comfortable at this event. This will be done by none other than our esteemed Deputy Chief Justice, Mandisa Maya Umakhadebe. Therefore, before we proceed with our business, let me ask the Deputy Chief Justice to say a few words. Let's give the Deputy Chief Justice a round of applause as she comes up to the stage.
Thank you, Justice Mhlanhla. Program directors, Justice Mhlanhla. Oh my goodness, I see a sea of familiar faces here and I'm getting excited. Justices Mhlanhla and Chikri, His Excellency, former President Motlanthe and Mrs. Motlanthe, former Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, Mogoeng and Mrs. Mogoeng, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Mtsweni Tsipane, MP, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Honorable Simelane, MP, Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Honorable Nel, MP, President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, Justice Molemela, Deputy President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, Justice Zondi, Justices of the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal, serving and retired, Judges President, Deputy Judges President, esteemed members of the judiciary, National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Batohi, heads of Chapter 9 institutions present here today, members of the legal fraternity, Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice, Ms. Sejosengwe, heads of department and officials of the Office of the Chief Justice, members of the media in attendance, distinguished guests, and of course, our guest of honor and celebrant, Chief Justice Mnyamezeli Mlungisi Raymond Zondo, and his dear wife, our sisters Tem and family. Good evening. It is a distinct privilege for me to stand in front of you this evening to welcome you on behalf of the South African judiciary to this momentous occasion which has brought us together to celebrate an illustrious career and pay tribute to a remarkable man, Chief Justice Zondo, as he embarked on a well-deserved retirement after many years of dedicated service to his country and her people. I am deeply honored to extend a warm welcome to our former president, His Excellency President Mutlante and his wife, and all the other luminaries in this room. We are very pleased to have all of you in our midst and appreciate that you have taken your valuable time to join us this evening despite your busy schedules. We meet in a critical year for our country, which recently achieved a major milestone as we celebrate 30 years of constitutional democracy, gained in a long, hard struggle and tremendous sacrifice. The creation of a credible judiciary was one of the most important building blocks laid in the new dispensation towards addressing the devastating consequences of the historic injustices and discriminatory practices of our dark past and building a transformed and united society. The establishment of the Constitutional Court in particular was crucial for the protection and promotion of the Constitution and the fundamental human rights it entrenches. In a few months, that court will celebrate its 30th anniversary since its doors were formally opened by President Nelson Mandela on 14 February 1995. It fills one with great pride to say that under the guidance of visionary leaders at its helm, one of them none other than Chief Justice Zondo, its fifth Chief Justice, the court has produced many groundbreaking decisions that have advanced social justice, equality, and human rights for the betterment of the lives of the people of South Africa. And Justice Zondo, Chief Justice Zondo, now retires, leaving behind a legacy of excellence and joining the distinguished ranks of his predecessors who have molded the court's jurisprudence that is lauded the world over. Chief Justice, as we kickstart the celebrations of this significant milestone that you have achieved, that will stretch into tomorrow, as Justice Mdntv has already indicated, let me take this opportunity to convey the shared gratitude of the entire judicial community for the dedication and distinction with which you served as a lawyer, a judge, and a leader of the judiciary over the past 3 decades. The sterling example that you have set for all of us will continue to inspire us and shape the jurisprudence and the development of the law of our country well into the future. Please allow me to also express my own appreciation to you for your unstinting support and collegiality since I joined the Constitutional Court 2 years ago. Through you, I gained invaluable insights into the functioning of the court, the vast challenges that confront the judiciary, and where and how one may start to address them. And I have no doubt that even though you are leaving us, you will make time to assist as we grapple with the mammoth task of establishing a fully independent, efficient, and unified judiciary that has all South African judicial officers, judges and magistrates under one roof, managing the affairs of their institution themselves to ensure access to justice for all South Africans. I have no doubt that I speak for all our colleagues at the Constitutional Court and those who have worked with you in other courts when I say that I am sincerely grateful to have had the opportunity to work closely with you and learn from you. And thank you for supporting women in the judiciary and ensuring that they too get a chance at the driver's seat of the institution. In your short 2 years as Chief Justice, an institution that managed to have only one woman appointed as a judge president in 27 years, suddenly gained 2 women judges president, more women deputy judges president, a woman deputy chief justice, and now in 2 weeks, a woman chief justice. It is no random coincidence that these tremendous gains in the struggle to diversify the judiciary in terms of gender were achieved during your tenure. Your support added significantly to the impetus for the recognition of women in this arm of the state. Heartiest congratulations, Sohlaza, onke amabongo wafezile, as we say in isiXhosa. May this new chapter of your life bring you joy, relaxation, and time to chase your other passions free from the relentless demands of the judicial bench and tedium of administration. We will miss you, but it is time to go home to your dear wife, our sister Tem, and your children, who we all owe a huge debt of gratitude for selflessly sacrificing many years of their time with you to the nation. Siyabonga kakhulu bakwamthiyane. In closing, I wish to thank you all once more for honoring our invitation and joining us in this joyous but sad occasion. We hope that you will have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, TCJ, for the warm welcome. In Xhosa, we say, ayingxengwa. Now I can tell you more about our program. You took my stuff. She took my glasses. You took everything. Hey. We can't see without our glasses. Oh. I was about to tell you about our program, what we have in store for you tonight. We'll have a speaker who will be representing the colleagues, Justice Madlanga, and we'll have the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, Justice Mulimela, speaking on behalf of the heads of court. And thereafter, we'll have a short break when the starters will be served. And thereafter, we'll have a musical item being played. The former Chief Justice Mkhweng, who was a great friend of the Chief Justice, will pay tribute as a friend. And thereafter, dinner will be served. As you know, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, was due to attend this function. Unfortunately, he couldn't, and he has delegated the Minister of Justice, Ms. Thembi Simelane, to pay tribute on his behalf. And thereafter, we'll then wrap up. It will be the time for the celebrant to, I won't say anything. It will be up to the celebrant what he wants to tell us, but we'll also have a toast. The Chief Justice, I will now call upon Justice Chikri. My colleague, make sure that she doesn't take my stuff, I hope.
What shall we do? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Unonkosi has already said, I'm Justice Chick. Protocol has already been observed. Mine really is to thank, firstly, the Deputy Chief Justice for such a warm welcome. We feel welcome. Kwelitheko lika Sohlaza. He's beaming with pride and satisfaction. Please join me as I call our colleague, Justice Madlanga, to pay a tribute to this giant whom we are celebrating today. I will not say much and leave it to Justice Madlanga. Can we give him a warm round of applause?
Honorable Chief Justice Ray Zondo and Honorable Minister Thembi Simelane, the Minister standing in for President Ramaphosa, I'm asking the two of you to please allow me to say Zinqanga. Nentsiba zazo. I'm deliberately saying this in the plural instead of saying Nanga nentsiba zayo. I can only hope and pray that none among us will ask, Ngobani inqanga, ngobani intsiba zazo. That's my way of saying protocol has been observed. Ndaba, I'm sure you know that I cannot resist this. I suspect that Mrs. Zondo Uste used to take it with a pinch of salt that a person could have as much work as Ray used to tell her he had. It was on the occasion of the conferment of an honorary LLD degree on former Chief Justice Mogoeng that this family intrigue was solved. Many judges were in Mahikeng at Northwest University for the occasion. Justice Zondo, Mrs. Zondo, and I were there. After the formal session, there was to be another celebration elsewhere in the evening. As judges were standing outside the graduation hall, chatting, I asked to be excused as I had a lot of work that I was chasing. I said I would join colleagues later in the evening. With barely concealed alacrity, Ray made a request that was clearly meant for Stere's ears. He said to me, "Fowethu, khawuphinde uthini ngale ndaba yomsebenzi omningi." Translated, my brother, please repeat. What are you saying about this matter of a lot of work? Of course, I obliged, and Ray said to Stare, "Uyezwa uthini?" I thus inadvertently became a corroborating witness in the resolution of a family intrigue. Chief Justice Zondo writes the longest sentences and the longest paragraphs I have ever seen. Speaking at a congratulatory dinner organized by the Black Lawyers Association after the Chief Justice's appointment, I said, if I can claim to have a legacy at the Constitutional Court, it is succeeding in bringing down the length of Chief Justice Zondo's sentences and paragraphs. I then made the mistake of going on long leave. I came back to find the Chief Justice's recent judgment in Regenesis Management, a matter in which I unfortunately did not sit. With one very long sentence in paragraph 167, my success seems to have gone out through the window. I wish I had been there, Ndaba, when the case was heard. I will still claim my legacy, though. As they say, one swallow does not make a summer. Mtiane, it is with a sense of great pride to have witnessed a son of Emma Zabekweni, a beck of beyond, situated in rural Ekopo, rise to the dizzying heights that you have reached. You do not only come from a disadvantaged area, the kind of disadvantage that sometimes unfortunately defines the destinies of those raised within it. You come from a background of real poverty, palpable poverty. So, with the disadvantaged area you come from and your family's untold poverty, yours was a situation of double disadvantage. At the funeral of Chief Justice Zondo's late mother, he told the story of how poor they were when he grew up, how difficult it sometimes was even to have food for the day. Sometimes food would be so little that his mother would dish up only for the children, with nothing left for her. As he told this story, I felt a lump in my throat. Tears welled up in my eyes and rolled down my face. Here is the significance of this brief narrative. A lesser human being, engulfed by those circumstances, would probably have resigned themselves to their lot. You are not a lesser human being, Sokulu. You are the high-flying battalion eagle with alluring plumage, Inganga, that I started my speech with. You did not wallow in despair and self-pity. You did not allow locational disadvantage and poverty to define your destiny. Through sheer grit and determination, you defied all odds and took your destiny in your hands. Here we are today. Chief Justice Zondo, it is not for me to go through your resume, but a part of it that fascinates me is how you came to be the giant that you are in labor law. That, of course, is not saying that is all you are. Few among us gathered here tonight can claim to have seen in flesh iqhawe lomzabalazo umama uVictoria Mxenge. Ray did not only see her, he worked for her. The struggles of workers were closely bound up with the struggle against apartheid. In her work as a lawyer for freedom fighters, Mamu Mxenge ended up attracting labor law work. Ray's timing could not have been more perfect. When he asked to serve articles under her, she said that her office had a lot of labor law work about which they knew nothing. She instructed Ray to start an office that would focus only on labor law. She offered to buy him whatever book or work material he required. And something that is unheard of, Ray, an article clerk, was even given his own secretary. He took up the challenge. Those beginnings were to contribute immensely to his incontestable expertise in labor law. A true leader inspires. A true leader commands respect. A true leader is a visionary. A true leader innovates. Much as a true leader must, within reason, seek consensus, they do not do so ad nauseam. A true leader listens, not to their own voice, but to the voices of the led. A true leader listens out of a realization that they can never have the monopoly of constructive ideas. A true leader does not rely only on the views of sycophants who will obsequiously serve the leader the craved dish. A true leader leads, which requires of them to be decisive. Chief Justice, in some ways, this collection of thoughts is disparate. That notwithstanding, I do not have the slightest doubt in my mind that you fit the bill. I will not explain this by going through each of these thoughts. I will highlight only a few. I cannot count the number of times you have invited us, the justices at the Constitutional Court, to share our views on issues you had to decide. In most of those occasions, a decision acceptable to you and informed by colleagues' thoughts would be taken at conference. Not infrequently, you would seek our views outside of the formal setting of conference. Before Mandi Maya, the Chief Justice designate, I want to catch her eye. She hates that term, but I will use it if only to annoy her. Before she joined the court, some colleagues seemed to believe that you consulted me more, Ndaba. As a result, when there was a rather sticky issue on which it was us who wanted to consult you, my colleague Justice Mdntv, with a bright smile, or my two colleagues, Justices Zukisa Chikri and Stephen Majid, each of whom has a mischievous streak, would say something like, quote, Mbui, because the Chief Justice has your ear, please talk to him about this, close quote. Depending on the issue at hand, I did not always agree to being the one who bailed the cat. Forward to, we thank you for valuing our thoughts. I can also not count the number of times you would report to us, either by email or at conference, decisions that you had already taken. For that we do not begrudge you. You are the leader. As I said, you must lead and you must be decisive. We, whom you lead, must trust your judgment. If at every turn and on everything you would consult us and only decide after that consultative process, you would not be an effective leader. After all, and as the colloquialism goes, the buck stops with you. Coming to the concrete deeds that Chief Justice Zondo has embarked upon, let me start with what this court receives the most criticism about, that is, delays or backlogs. Chief Justice Zondo realizes that we can no longer, without doing something tangible, highlight the fact that since this court was empowered also to exercise general jurisdiction, the volume of our work increased dramatically. Under his direction, the court has recently come up with two possible solutions. The first one is a constitutional amendment that will make it possible for small panels of justices to decide new applications as opposed to all the justices deciding each application. The second is the employment of senior lawyers who will render assistance to the justices, and this will be in addition to the law clerks that we have. We can only hope that the second proposal will not be shot down on the basis of the usual refrain of lack of funds. Both proposals are not novel, as we did a comparative study and established that some apex courts have these models. For a long time, there has been no end in sight on the issue of the complete institutional independence of the judiciary, which the Deputy Chief Justice touched on. To take this question forward, Chief Justice Zondo appointed a committee headed by retired Judge President Bernard Ngwepe. The Chief Justice has since shared the committee's report with the executive with a view to having engagements so that the question may finally be resolved. Within a short time after taking office, the Chief Justice saw a need to address problems and serious problems at the General Office. He engaged the Secretary General to identify and resolve the problems. This was done successfully. Deputy Chief Justice Meyer stole my thunder on the women leaders in the judiciary, but she did a much better job than I could ever have hoped to do. Thank you, DCJ. It is through Chief Justice Zondo's efforts that retired judges who perform Judicial Conduct Committee work are now paid for that, with the result that more retired judges are attracted to do this work. Foetu, when I spoke at the BLA function I referred to earlier, I said, let me say unreservedly that under Ray, the South African judiciary is in capable hands. Calm, level-headed, never acting on impulse, hardworking, studious, scholarly, and above all, wise, all of which are indispensable tools for heading one of the three constitutional arms of state, the judiciary. End of what I said there. Nothing has changed for it. I steadfastly continue to hold those views, and I believe my colleagues do too. Chief Justice, may you enjoy a long, fulfilling retirement. I trust that you will keep the promise you have made to yourself that for a whole year you are taking time off. That is well deserved. I trust that stay will hold you to that. And now, because you are no longer doing the kind of work that she knows nothing about, she will be able to hold you to your diary. And in fact, she may even contribute to what goes into that diary. Thank you very much.
Well spoken, Mboy. I will not dilute your words. There are spectacles here. I think that my sister, Justice Mdntv, decided to leave them here. Or are they yours, Mboy? But they are not mine. In our midst, ladies and gentlemen, we've got heads of court. They will be represented by the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, President Mahube Mlemela, who will pay tribute on their behalf. President Mlemela.
Thank you, Program Director. I have instructions from the Program Director. She told me that in the interests of time, I must stand on the protocol that has already been observed. So I thought I should just explain. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, allow me then to just say good evening. My colleague, Justice Madlanga, mentioned that the DCJ stole his thunder in respect of one aspect. She stole mine as well, and you also stole mine, by the way. And sometimes people wonder, and sometimes people say, but why does it happen that at functions like these, people will be showering praises at the person or the celebrant, like the Chief Justice? But credit has to be given whenever it's due. So sometimes people will say, why do you thank the fish for swimming? It's what it's supposed to do. So why do you shower the Chief Justice with praises for having done the right thing? Because that's what you are supposed to do. But it is very important because sometimes you find leaders who just do not listen to advice and do their own thing. And this reminds me of a leader who was very, let me call him a tyrant. And so he ignored whatever advice he was being given by his subjects. And in the end, they did not bother trying to give him advice anymore. He made one blunder after the other until his death. And on his death, because he was a leader, they erected a huge tombstone for him. And when the tombstone was being unveiled, as they were removing the veil, there were only 4 short words on that big tombstone. And because the people were no longer afraid of him because he was dead, they had decided to tell the truth about him. And the 4 short words on the tombstone were, quote, "Here lies a fool," unquote. So, Chief Justice, you are a good leader, and we are proud to be showering you with well-deserved praise. Whatever I say here today is a summary of the collective views of the heads of court that served with the Chief Justice. So we have woven what we think is a beautiful tapestry for the Chief Justice. His names say it all: Raymond Mnyamezeli Mlungisi Zondo. Raymond is said to be Old French and Old German in origin, with the meaning, wait for it, hand of advice. Mnyamezeli, loosely translated, means the one who perseveres, or the one who is very patient. And Mlungisi means the one who restores. I suspect, Chief Justice, that this combination of names is going to be very popular in the future. The Chief Justice has had a long, illustrious career in the judiciary, spanning many years, 17 of which were spent in leadership positions. 10 years as the Judge President of the Labor and Labor Appeal Courts, 4.5 years as a Deputy Chief Justice, and 2.5 years as a Chief Justice. Having already played an important role in the labor sphere as the chairperson of the CCMA, the Chief Justice played a significant role in shaping labor law in South Africa. As a Deputy Chief Justice and later as the Chief Justice, CJ was always forthright and decisive. He was never afraid of speaking his mind when the occasion called for it. In circumstances like those, he would take the bull by the horns. The possibility of criticism never deterred him from taking a stance that was appropriate, even though there was a risk of that approach being criticized or being considered unpopular. He seemed to have adopted the following adage as his motto, and it is this: if you are afraid of criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. The Chief Justice's attention to detail and careful choice of words, whether in a prepared or impromptu speech, are other qualities of his that stood out. These attributes were consistently reflected in how he chaired all committees in the judiciary: the Council of the South African Judicial Education Institute, which is SAJE, the proceedings at the Judicial Service Commission, and the heads of court meetings, to name but a few. These are attributes that were admired in many moments that we spent with him at various meetings of heads of court. The Chief Justice had an infectious demeanor of calmness in stressful situations. And now that the Chief Justice is on the verge of retirement, these moments are etched in our minds as fond memories that we shall always cherish. The Chief Justice's careful choice of words, demonstrating a gift of articulation, is also displayed in the plethora of judgments he has penned on various fields of the law. Chief Justice, rest assured that these judgments will always stand out as your monuments of indelible contributions you have made to the law of this country, thereby enriching its jurisprudence. Chief Justice, you made the difficult job of coordinating the activities of the judiciary and simultaneously giving intellectual leadership. You made all of those seem so easy. Simply put, you did a difficult job with remarkable ease and with poise, always patient and smiling when asked for endless selfies, even at the most inopportune times. To watch you do all of this so effortlessly was an inspiration to all of us. The Chief Justice was deeply committed to protecting the integrity of the judiciary against unfair and unwarranted criticism. The Chief Justice is a person who epitomizes resilience, patience, and excellence. A person who has always been driven by a desire to make a tangible difference in the lives of others. He has always understood the importance of honesty, integrity, and kindness. Because he was driven by the spirit of servanthood, he always put the interests of the people and the organizations he happened to lead ahead of his own personal interests. As a judge, he served the judiciary with distinction and established a vast amount of jurisprudence which talked directly to the needs of the people. We will forever be grateful to you, Chief Justice, for the guidance you provided as a leader of the judiciary. You put in place various instruments and mechanisms to make justice accessible to the people. Your work as a chairperson of the State Capture Commission revealed your people's skills. The Chief Justice's tenure as Chief Justice ends on the verge of the launching of a second aspirant women judges training program under the auspices of the South African Judicial Education Institute, after ensuring the success of the previous program. This program, Chief Justice, dispels the narrative that women do not make themselves available for appointment to the judiciary. The Chief Justice happily championed the cause of women judges and played a very supportive role to women's structures within the judiciary. It is then not surprising that 5 female heads of court were appointed during his tenure as Chief Justice, and I am one of them. There was also a significant increase in the appointment of women to various courts. Not only that, the well-being of judges was one of the Chief Justice's priorities. During his tenure, such a training focused on mental wellness, an essential training that is the very foundation of our judicial activities. In your relatively short tenure, Chief Justice, as Chief Justice, you organized the eagerly awaited Judges Conference, bringing the judges and magistrates under one roof and advocating for a single judiciary. Critical resolutions were taken in that conference pertaining to the attainment of institutional independence and the digitization of the courts, among others. Due to your insistence, the rollout of the court online system is well on course. It is envisaged that it will have been rolled out to most courts by the end of this year. It was also under your leadership, Chief Justice, that the new Judicial Services Commission criteria were adopted, which changed the manner in which the interviews for the appointment of judges were conducted. Recently, the Chief Justice initiated a meaningful discourse around the issue of robing in the Magistrates' Court. It is evident that in you, Chief Justice, we had a steady hand steering the judiciary ship, a man who hardly ever loses his composure. Up to the last assignment on Judiciary Day, you fervently sketched out how the judiciary had throughout the years struggled for institutional independence that is so necessary for access to justice. You boldly stated that the situation had become so dire as to warrant urgent corrective measures. You unequivocally showed that you prioritized the judiciary's interests above everything else. With the date of your discharge from the Constitutional Court as the country's Chief Justice looming, we know that you leave a loud and clear message that the plunder of state assets and institutions is the antithesis of the constitutional promise of a democratic South Africa that is so steeped in the values of human dignity, equality, and freedom. Overall, Chief Justice, as I conclude, we thank you because you have been a fountain of wisdom that we shall continue to draw from beyond your tenure. We are proud as the heads of court to have served with you in the heads of court space. We have been led, and we wish you well. Hamba kahle, sohlaza. Enjoy your well-deserved rest. Thank you.
At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have some niceties. We didn't come here to listen to speeches only. Yes, there'll be speeches, but it's time for entertainment. I'd like to introduce the band that will be playing as we enjoy our starters. Starters will be served. The band that will be entertaining us is led by Mondli Ngobo, with his live band of 6 artists, all hailing from the province that is popularly known to have a name and a surname. He has produced and created music with the likes of Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, Black Coffee, Kelly Kumalo, Nduduzo Makatini, Mafiki Zolo, and Hlengi Wemhlaba, to just name a few. He plays Afro jazz, house, gospel, and Afro pop music, amongst others. Distinguished guests, please welcome on stage Mondli Ngobo, performing with his live band. Let us give him and them a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for using you for my check. She don't say that. There's a music in the air. It will make your sorrow go. Let the music take you there. Far from the world you know. You can feel it when you move. Then you know love. You can feel it when you're there. Then you know love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody. Sing it, 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 sing it. You find love. You take it, second, 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 second. You know, sometimes you find love in strangest places. Sometimes under the table as you playing footsie with your colleague, as you're eating food. Sometimes you find love going to the loo to pee. You find love. Still look for love in the music. Lost in the melody. You find love, my eye. Thank you. Brother, 1, 2. Just take my microphone down. Down. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, just a little bit. 1, 2. Good. Play there. Take him down a little bit. Take him down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, good. Good telling, inotangele, ngonagele, amathemba akho, wonke wabeke kimi asisi, hawazina, abantu abayifuni intenhle, bayamangasa, baklimaza, bakbuka emehlweni, ngiyathemba uyabona, sophela khona empini, ngeke basikhola, ngingashona mina, themba uyabona, ngithemba uyabona, shiki, noma besulala, noma bestubula, shiki, sekadinganda, oh la la la, hey. Amanye abantu Nkosi maphila ngawe, ubese betha usinika kabantshintshi, amathemba akho wonke wabeke kimi asisi, awazi nawo abantu abayifuni nehle, bayamangasa, baklimaza, bakbuka emehlweni, ngiyathemba uyabona, sophela khona empini, ngeke basikhola, ngingashona mina, sentekelele, sophela khona empini. Shona mini night. Oh, linga shona mini city there. Sithi bonke labantu abazilo tongathi, bonke labantu they wanna run our life. Funi senangati, city bonke labanda, must fangeli pressure every day, every night. Hukuti abati, sivela pina, inkanye, listen me, lelanga, listen pume pumala, listen God, silana silile, Gosugu ti umdalusa yeno pegu Israel agose agala dalusa swing. I can't say my name. I can't say my name. Milange kumpula. Yenu Jesu engi atupegela. Oh, aetalela. Supegela.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give the band a round of applause, please, for the entertainment. Thank you very much. Order, order, please, ladies and gentlemen. CJ, order. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker is a dear friend of the Chief Justice. They probably met whilst at varsity at KZN. At some stage, they met during their time in the legal profession. They ended up being judge presidents. He, the Chief Justice Zondo, Judge President of the Labour Court, and Chief Justice Mukhweng, Judge President of the Northwest Division. And eventually they found their way as colleagues at the Constitutional Court. Initially as judges, the Chief Justice he was appointed Justice Mukhweng, and the CJ, because I'm talking about two Chief Justices, I end up being confused. And then Luso Shaza ended up being the deputy to Chief Justice Mukhweng. When they talk to each other, bathi mngani wami, and you can see ukuthi ngabangani nyani lapha. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me when we call upon the Chief Justice to come to the stage. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Program directors, justices, Nonkosi Mdlantla and Justice Zuki Chiku. The Chief Justice of the Republic, Mlungisi Zondo and Mrs. Zondo. Tautuna Yamaloba, Motlotlegi Kgalema Motlanthe le Mmarona, the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic, Justice Mandisa Maya, the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, Justice Molemela. I was told the Deputy President is here. I don't see him. Don't want to acknowledge people in absentia. Justices of the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal in active service and retired, judges, president, the leadership of the magistracy. I saw the famous president of the regional court, Ndate Judge here. Oh, Honorable Minister, my apologies. My apologies. I apologize unreservedly. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Minister Simelane, the DM, Andrew Snell, ladies and gentlemen, including members of the media, the Secretary General. I'm going to talk about my friend. He led me to believe that I have at least 20 minutes. And I think it's a dangerous proposition to give a pastor and a pensioner the leeway to speak without strict time frames. I just want to express my gratitude to His Excellency, the former President, and me. I may not go into details, but you've been very kind to me while you were in active service as the Deputy President of the Republic, both of you. Maybe I should be specific about one incident. I was stuck and didn't have any way of getting to the funeral service of President Mandela. There were no flights, and Mthatha Airport was closed. And the both of you offered me a lift in the vice presidential jet. It was an honor. I will forever be grateful. I also just want to acknowledge the former judge president of the High Court of Gauteng, the former vice president of the African Court, because I'm talking about my friend. You may not be aware, but this man played a very critical role in ensuring that the Chief Justice and I end up being justices of the Constitutional Court. About 3 or 4 years before the 4 vacancies were advertised in 2009, he pulled us aside at the heads of court meeting, this Bernard Mwepe that you see here, and said, gentlemen, posts are going to be advertised at the Constitutional Court. It is about time for you people to get ready and avail yourselves for those opportunities. About 3 or 4 years before they were actually advertised. And I said, I'm from a small court. I don't even think there are any judgments of consequence that I have written on the basis of which I could possibly make it to the Constitutional Court. I said there are many people who are hungry to go there. I'm very comfortable in my space as a judge president. He said, well, some of us know you better than you know yourself. We've been watching you even as you were fulfilling your role as judge president, as the heads of course meeting. Cut the long story short, we ultimately made ourselves available. My friend didn't make it, and I hope to touch on that. How did Ray and I become friends? When we first went to the university, and that was the University of Zululand in 1981, tribalism was at its worst. our Zulu brothers there, everybody who's not a Zulu was Isloan. Justice Besson Kabinde was there. But at least two men stood out. No tribalism whatsoever. Ray Zondo and the former Deputy Judge President Madondo. The three of us were the poorest at the university, and you would think that we were either the Botswanas or the Zulus, because we didn't see tribe, we didn't see race, we didn't see ethnicity, we saw human beings. And apart from our abject poverty, we were the poorest of the poor, the three of us. When you saw us moving about on campus, you would know there goes poverty. But there is something that explains how Mlungisi Zondo got to be Chief Justice that was manifest even as early as Cause 1. Ray was hungry to make it in life. Madondo was just as hungry, and so did I. And what brought us together was, guys, we're not here to play. We see ourselves as difference makers in the future. I said, I'm going to be senior counsel. Ray said, I'm going to be the most senior attorney in life. So whenever there was an exam, he knew, I knew, that once the scripts had been marked, you must come and account. So you would go to the other and say, how much did you get? Confident that you are the best performing. And maybe you got 70%. Either Ray or Madondo would say, I only got 80%. Or you got 60%, they would come with that Zulu accent. I only got 70. So we pushed hard to make sure that none of us drops out. The dean at the time, when we checked him out from a book entitled The Afrikaner Broederbond, he was a Broederbonder. I won't mention his name. We were 180 when we started. He came in and said, oh, so many 180. Even women are venturing into law. I can tell you now, you'll be lucky if half of you would still be here at the end of the semester. I said, but how does this guy know that we don't have the capacity to make it? How can he know in advance that we won't make it? And Ray and I, and Mjabulise and Madondo, were determined. We didn't even have girlfriends. But I suppose our poverty also came in handy. Because as a young girl, you want somebody who at least has the capacity to buy you a bottle of Coke. We were forever drinking water, never seen with a can of any drink whatsoever. And that gave us the space to focus on what mattered the most. And that was our studies. I remember one day, Big Brother Madondo, two things happened about Ray and I. Man, my friends came to me and said, man, just taste this. They called it Mbaha. Now, this Mbaha was wine called Autumn Harvest. It used to be in a 5-liter container. So I said, is this not alcohol? They said, no, don't call it like that. You must treat it with respect. It's Mbaha. So they say, come with us. So I reluctantly went with them. I went along with them because one of them was my roommate. So they said, just taste. I said, but this thing is bitter. I said, no, it's not. Just taste. Hey, peer pressure. I caged in, I had the first sip. But it's bitter. They said, no. It's only because you've taken the first. By the third one, I was drunk, and the second week, they invited me. The third week, I was the one saying, people, when are we going to have Mbaha? So Madondo realized that I had fallen for the trap. So he came as a big brother. I'm coming to you. So Madondo comes, he said, Wem. I know that you come from a very poor family. And I'm not going to allow you now to be misled by these drunkards. He said, I have seen your father's name and the address from which he writes you whenever you shared his letters with me. I'm going to write to him and tell him your son has abandoned his studies. He has decided to be a drunkard. That was enough to cause me to sober up. And Ray got excited. There were two leaders there, I won't mention them. There was a particular organization. What was the name, my brother? It's the Society of Humanities. So Ray decided to be embroiled in the Society of Humanities with T-shirts and so on. I don't know if he was a leader or something. You were Secretary General. So in came Madondo. He said, Ray, have you forgotten where you come from? Stop this nonsense of yours. We are here to study. So the bonds strengthened. We studied hard. First year we passed. We discussed. The three of us were next. We all agreed that we're going to the University of Natal. He said, now we want to compete with the white people now. We went there and we excelled. And then we took a decision, but LLB is not enough. Let's pursue a master's degree. No, that's why it's not a coincidence that the three of us has LLB degrees from Natal and LLM degrees from UNISA. We were determined not to have anybody pity us, but to succeed. Even when we were appointed judges on the basis of our potential, we knew that there were many doubting Thomases out there. And from time to time, because Ray and I were appointed first, from time to time we would call each other, how are you doing? What are the challenges? And reminded one another, you can't be comfortable that you have already been appointed. No. We have a nation to serve here. And we have the responsibility to be pathfinders or among pathfinders. Now that we have the opportunity, it is for us now to demonstrate to all and sundry that they too can make it. So every opportunity that came our way, we made it a point that there is at least a ray of light that would cause some who are objective to say, okay, they still have some limitations, but they are working hard. They are doing their best not to reinforce the pre-existing stereotypes, particularly because of our Bantu education background. There was a deep sense of caring that was demonstrated. How do I put it now? Maybe I should be blunt about it. At a time when there was an issue concerning the Constitutional Court justices and Judge President Hlophe, it was Ray Zondo who said to the heads of courts, absent Judge President Mwepe, who was a member of the JSC at the time, representing the judges president. He said, people, this thing is going to hurt the judiciary more than you can imagine. We've got to demonstrate leadership here and intervene. The meeting of the heads of courts was held at the Labor Court because at the time he was the judge president of the Labor Court. We were there. And the purpose of the meeting was to sit down and reflect on the possibility of facilitating some kind of an agreement or mediating so that this thing could possibly come to an end. And Judge President Somyalo and I were elected by the heads of courts. I remember approaching then Chief Justice Pius Langa and Deputy Chief Justice Msenek at some conference. I think it was the SADC Forum of Chief Justices, because Judge President Somyalo had mandated me to do so. I said, people, none of you can tell what's going to happen. Can you imagine either both or one of you being hauled before some structure, the JSC structure that would be investigating this thing, and being asked the kind of questions that you could never have anticipated as the topmost and second topmost leader of the judiciary? Isn't there a way of addressing this thing before it puts the judiciary into disrepute? We didn't succeed. We tried to reach out to then Judge President Hlophe. We drew a blank. But I'm saying all this to say, this man's heart has always been in the right place. I remember there was a stage when people were investigating him. Oh, this man has been through a lot, to the point of going to his children's friends, hoping to find some dirt about him. But he never lost his peace. 2009, I'm sure he was overlooked. I believe that he was going to go in. He was in charge of a national court. I was only in charge of a smaller court. But he didn't. Somebody whispered to him and said, look, so-and-so is blocking your upward mobility. If only you can go and humble yourself before him. I remember him sharing that with me and saying, I would rather die. I would rather go back to the attorney's profession than go to any man, regardless of who he is, and beg him to facilitate my upward mobility. It's got to be on merit. I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity for the sake of a position. How am I going to feel knowing that had it not been for this man, I wouldn't have been there? Is the opposition legitimate anyway? So he refused. Subsequently, another name was mentioned of those who were determined to frustrate him for reasons that cannot be disclosed publicly. He stood his ground. I'm talking about integrity because it's a commodity that is very scarce in this country and beyond. When I was Chief Justice and he was still the judge, a puny judge, in the, let's call it the Pretoria High Court. I forgot these names. I forget these names. I'm a pensioner now. I called him and said, Ray, I want you to come and act as a judge. He said, what? Because not once did he seek to take advantage of our friendship to say, oh, but remember me in your kingdom, as some said to me. Not once. It came as an absolute shock to him. And there is a loaded message in this statement, because it may not be unheard of that people, including judges, do compromise principle for the sake of positions. It may not be unheard of that people, even judges, would want to associate with politicians and be gossiping about their colleagues, so that when an opportunity comes for somebody to be elevated, they would be the ones to be remembered. That is the shortest way of destroying the judiciary. Believe you me, good people, I've almost said saints. You know, a Muruti is always a Muruti. The only true guarantor of a vibrant constitutional democracy is the judiciary. And what is going to eat up on the integrity of the judiciary is when you begin to open your eyes wide looking for who seems to be more influential than others and seek to ingratiate yourself to them. Oh, this is their thinking. This is not the narrative. I dare not say anything that contradicts this. Once you come across a judge who is unable to confront issues that stare him or her on the face, be it in judgments or whenever there is a need to confront them, even if they rise up to a position of leadership, they are compromised already, and you can forget about the possibility of the judiciary being protected as well as it should. You know, Mganwam, I meant to start my speech as follows. That there is a particular book, I haven't read it, but the heading is quite striking. It says, "The Thabo Mbeki I know." The title speaks to me. So I'm here to talk about the Ray Zondo I know, not the one you know. I'm here to talk about the Ray Zondo I know. The man who, when he saw people suffering without financial resources, together with his dear wife, have over the years made it their business to make sure that they don't forget where they come from. I know that there are many beneficiaries of the principled stance that Ray and Stay took to make sure that they are not going to forget those who are in the same position that they found themselves in earlier in their lives. They don't go about mobilizing people for resources. They draw from their own to help underprivileged young people to further their studies. So, I think I must conclude. I've known this man to be a hardworking man. I meant to recite statistics, but I forgot to look at my phone. From the time he was acting as a judge of the Constitutional Court up to the time when he was appointed permanently as a judge of that court, he wrote a dizzying number of well-reasoned judgments. Dizzying number. I think, Edwin, his record is unmatched. So he came, and the impact was immediately felt. Even as Deputy Chief Justice, he came. Hey, but they are long, eh? I don't know why Mbui talked about sentences and paragraphs. It's not just sentences and paragraphs. I think he wanted to pursue a doctoral degree. Didn't make time, and now we are subjected to one doctoral thesis after the other. But exceedingly well-reasoned judgments. Persuasive judgments. So I have known him in that capacity. I didn't hesitate to have him deputize for me. Even when I was president of the body of judges in the African continent, I knew that his heart was in the right place, and I would, without any hesitation, ask him to go and stand in for me. So, leadership is functional. Leadership that matters is functional but not positional. When you are a servant leader, a leader who appreciates the privilege to serve and doesn't care whether people praise him or condemn him or her. Even when you retire, you don't worry about legacy. No. It was a privilege for you to serve, do what you enjoy the most, and yet be paid for it. I believe that is the position in which Ray finds himself. Manwam, you have done well. My only plea to you is that the workaholic that you are, must at least remember that there is a wife who has been waiting for far too long, waiting for you to do your work and do it well. And I think finally I must just address this one issue about circumstances under which you became the chair of the State Capture Commission, because there was a story being made around that issue. When I ultimately got to meet President Zuma, after he had been making remarks on this matter, saying, no, why not decide? You said decide and so on. I said, Mr. President, I've heard you and your people now criticizing me about identifying Deputy Chief Justice Zondo as chair of the commission. I said, there are a number of people that I've considered. So Desai was one of them. I don't remember whether Judge President Musi was Judge President already or he was deputy. I said Justice Musi was one of them. We looked for him, and actually Deputy Chief Justice Zondo was helping me, trying to track him down. He was on his way to some conference and so on. I said Justice Mtiani was one of them. There was Justice Zondi was the one we sat on for the longest time. I remember the Chief Justice trying to cajole him, say, you are from a family of Amakawe. It did not work. I said, we were in his house, and I was moving around his chair like this, talking to Deputy President Mtiani. When I said to Deputy President Mtiani, unless I asked the Deputy Chief Justice to do it, he said, unless you ask him. So I turned around and faced him and said, why can't you be the chair of the commission? Now that we've tried so many people, and none of them would accept the responsibility. So it was not a favor. No. I did nothing to facilitate this man's upward mobility. He worked his way up. May all of us who are privileged to have or to assume positions of responsibility not sit down, comfortable and hoping that the position will make you what you've never been. You've got to define a position of leadership that you occupy. It will never improve you. No. You've got to come and cause it to speak and to revolutionize the institution in which you find yourself. So, functional leadership is key. So anybody that occupies a position of authority will be watching you. I don't know whether it's Sukjongi. No, but Sukjongi. So know that you'll be watched. It is more about what it is that you have to offer. Are you paving the way for others? Or are you going to be a disgrace? These people are harsh when they judge you. Mganwame, thank you for allowing me to say what I have said from my heart. Enjoy your rest. Avail yourself for such responsibilities as you may comfortably assume. I repeat, your wife. You and I have a pact that our wives can speak freely to another when there's a problem that seems to be irresolvable. Remember when I had a condition and I was refusing to see a medical doctor. As a result of that pact, my wife called you and said, your friend has got this and this kind of a condition, but he's refusing to see a doctor. And you called me, explained it all, and said, you must go and see a doctor. Similarly, when there was a particular situation between you and your wife, she called me and said, this is what your friend is doing. And I freely confronted you and said, your wife has reported you to me. So, Mamtembu, I am here. If this man is running up and down when you've been waiting for him for so long, you must tell me. Then I will confidently accuse him of seeing another woman.
talk about real friendship. Thank you, TJ. Thank you for such a moving and powerful message, paying tribute to your dear friend. And what I can take from there, the message, integrity, a very important thing. I think we need time to digest what has been said before we call upon our next speaker. The main course is going to be served now. I request the guests at the tables 1 to 5 to remain seated, and they will be served at their tables. The rest of the guests, they may proceed to the pre-event arrival area where the buffet will be served. Thank you. Mr. Ngobo and his team will entertain us with some music. Thank you.
with the rising sun. Three little birds on my doorstep, singing sweet song, melody so sweet and clean. They say, this is my message to you. Hey, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be alright. I sing to yo 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 yo. I woke up this morning, met with the rising sun. Three little birds on my doors, singing sweet song, melody so sweet and dear. They say, this is my message to you. Hey, yeah. So don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing. Oh, every little thing is gonna be alright. I say to yo 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 lo yo lo 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 lo. One love, one heart. Let's stand together and be alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and I will be alright. Excuse me, babe, I'm feeling dizzy. Oh, give me something to get me through the day, 'cause everything is spinning around, around and round and round. Oh yeah, leave me a hangover, hangover, hangover. City, oh, 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 oh. Kinyangala sitamatama, kinyangala sitamatama. City, oh yeah, city, oh, oh, oh. Evaya Orlando, Evaya Orlando, Evaya Orlando, Orlando, hangover, Orlando, hangover, Orlando. Oh, 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 oh. Excuse me, babe, I feel dizzy. Give me something to get me through the day, 'cause everything is spinning around. I see the round and round and round and round and round and round and round. Oh, hangover, hangover, hangover. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're gonna sit down, you're gonna sit down, sit the boy, yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. If I am I shake it, I shake it, I jiggle, I shake it, dig it, gong, 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 shake it, dig it, gang, 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 oh la la, oh la la, oh la la. Sometimes having an event on Tuesday can be very dangerous if people are working on the next day, which is Wednesday, of course. Because some people would not know, will have just a little bit too much for Wednesday. And don't go to the boss and say, excuse me, boss, I'm feeling dizzy. Oh, give me something to catch me through the day. Cause everything is spinning around and round and round and round and round. Jesu uyapila kiyokwesa bantonina ikazela linqobele ngiyindlali fire. You see, when I was told to come and perform here, I was told Mondli gcwele ingwevu lapha ungamemezi mfowethu uthisha. Hey ngiyazama ngisho ukuthi makwenzeka ngeqala ingikhuze ethi wena. Nyama ubithi nase lingochiwe uJesu muyapila ithi nase lingochiwe uJesu muyapila. Sisi to Jesu, oh ya pila, kiyokwesa bandos. Sisi tigazela, lingove, kindolifa, yesilu, itenase, lingochiwe, Jesu. Muyapila ikondinhle lenyukaya ikwelazo kizinsuku nginguye okhulengayo Nkosi sepetu Nkosi ngisi mami sege Emshabendi only city and the way and the wish Epageme Nkosi sepetu Angithandi ukuhlala lapho kune kanenkulu kumbaba yeba ngahlala mina ngithanda phethu Nkosi ngisi mami seke emhlabeni don't do down go singing the soul shoshala oza see you baba shoshala see you baba I go so tin system oh similar I go so tin sibatshela imnandi ivangeli sabo sekudala sibatshela imnandi ivangeli sekidikide dala 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 sibatshela see your mama, where my singing down, down, down. So mama, how go so? Go 60 minutes. Say that, do, stimulate again. Stop, break, shake, break, shake, 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 shake it. Enga, yambo, numtaga baba, yesule gugu hamba. Enga, yambo, numtaga baba, yesule gugu pamba. Enga, yambo, numtaga baba. See you, Baba. So my mama, she did it. So my mama, shake it, shake it. Go say goose. So my mama. Be happy. He's a little song I can sing from now to now. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't watch. Six Son tolang plomem langeni Son tolang plomem langeni soala Son tolang plomem langeni Son tolang plomem langeni soala Sekpeli minyangak bonita Sekpeli minyangak Sene yang sonela, sankotola mama sankotola. Hingabu pi we sana sa, guya da pekaya. Oh yani we dalwa, nya godola mo. Siam zogora tumba, siam zogora tumba, siam zogora dado kotola. Sisse, nyam zogora, nyam zogora, nyam zogora kotola. Si, siam zogora, siam zogora. Sam Zogora. Ah, my brother, Sam Godola Zogora. Sam Zogora, mama. Sam Zogora. City bombo, visa bombo, city bombo, visa bombo. City, I will tell your mama, I will tell your papa. City, I will tell your mama. City, I will tell your papa. City, what is sawale? Sawale. I'm going to ask a man from Nigeria to come and do it the original way. Take it down now.
Haradara ife bara papago, ubman nigeli, opurigbago, baby fire they go, hot boys you don't go. I they want some bottom. She come the pium, waka baby, oh yeah, uru baby, sango baby, and I go tell my mama, and I go tell my papa, and I go tell them say, Tibi waka baby, give me shuku baby, baby sawale,
sawale. You see, I met a woman from Nigeria. Hey. The way she was built, my God. Coca-Cola, bottles. Take it, the way she walks, Jesus. I asked a woman to be my wife immediately. Only to find out that she sells her body for money. Jesus. I said, does your mother know what you are doing in this place now? She said, mind your business. I said, I do want it. I said, I will tell your mama. I won't tell your papa. City, I won't tell your auntie. City, I won't tell your father. City, I won't tell her, say. City, I won't tell her, say. City, what is sawale? Sawale. Oh, mama. Oh, your thing is a song shine. Come and sing it. I want the way in my deal. Hinge, I got monks. Hey, my bananas. City, oh mama, oh your thing is a song shine. Ngoma tingitla awathi wa ying matliku wa yin chai aga bongs hemabala 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 hemabala. We are really not performing, we're just, you said you have time to eat, so we're just using that time. Uteoma, another one. Another one. Sakpelu moya manga Pela when my darling forever Kupeli oxygen manga Pela when my darling forever I'll beg in Jela I've never loved like this before. I've never loved like this before. We're gonna sing our goodbye song now. I had to meet you here today. There's just so many things to say. Please don't stop me till I'm through. Well, I guess this is a thing to do. It's gonna hurt me, I won't lie. I guess what we done goes wrong. Please, darling, don't you cry. Let's just kiss and say goodbye. It's gonna hurt me, I won't lie. I guess when we done goes wrong. Please, darling, I don't you cry, 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 cry. Let's just kiss and say mwah, 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 just a little bit, baby. I promise I won't bite. And say goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.
Our next speaker is here to represent His Excellency, the President of the country. It's our Minister of Justice, Ms. Thembi Simelane. She needs no introduction. She was formerly a Minister of Cocta. Now she's with us, joining the women, the Chief Justice Designate, President Ube Mulimela, all women. Viva Basadi!
Program Directors, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and Mrs. Zondo, our guest of honors this evening, former President Kgalema Motlanthe and Mrs. Motlanthe, our retired Chief Justice Mogoeng and Mrs. Mogoeng. Chief Justice Mogoeng, you are forgiven. You are retired. Who can't forgive a retired man? I would rather use incoming Chief Justice. I'm told Chief Justice Designate doesn't sit well. Mandisa Maya, Ministers, Deputy Ministers, my colleague DM Nell, Justices, members of the entire legal fraternity, our distinguished guests, family, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor on behalf of President Cyril Ramaphosa that I pay tribute to a distinguished jurist and a dedicated champion of our democratic constitutional order. Just a disclaimer, I'm going to read the speech of the President as is, so I avoid an incident that once occurred to me in my previous life, and DM Nell knows that story very well. So the President goes on, Chief Justice, to say, through the service you have rendered through the nation and through your conduct and your demeanor, Chief Justice, you have earned the admiration, respect, and gratitude of all South Africans. In Plato's Republic, Socrates says that a good judge should be old and wise. While there are some amongst us who may wish to contest the emphasis on age, there can be no doubt about the value of wisdom. President continued to quote Socrates, and I open a quote. He says, the judge should be a late learner of the nature of injustice, which they should study, not as something which is part of their own soul, but as a foreign element present in others, close quote. The judge will be one who, after a period of learning and discipline, is able to perceive the real nature of good and evil. So while Plato's ideal judge is wise, the wisdom extends beyond the legal expertise. They understand the difference between good and evil, between right and wrong. They have a profound grasp of the nature of injustice, yet they are able to dispense justice impartially. Such a judge is not easily deceived. In Republic, the ideal judge is above all incorruptible. Tonight, the President honor, jointly with South African, you, Chief Justice, as a person who possesses all the virtues demanded of a judge as foretold by our ancients. A man of wisdom, tempered by experience, a man of unwavering principle and integrity. You have been a man of humility and continue to be a man of courage. Chief Justice Zondo has served the cause of justice over a long and illustrious career. He led the Constitutional Court at a very important time in our democracy. In the public mind, he is the most associated with the Commission of Inquiry into the allegations of state capture. This was a task which you undertook with dignity, with fairness, and with integrity. The work of what is now known as the Zondo Commission remains the integral part of our efforts to rebuild our country in the wake of one of the most shameful periods in our democratic history. I'm sure it will be of importance to the, of course, that's not part of the president's speech, but to say we have gazetted the ID formally at the NPA, which main mandate task, amongst others, is to deal with cases that are emanating from the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission was an affirmation of our constitutional order, the rule of law, and the strength of our institution. The Commission did more than reveal in painstaking details the extent and the nature of state capture. The Commission began to restore society's confidence in its ability to correct mistakes and to hold those responsible for wrongdoing to account. History will record that Justice Zondo, Chief Justice Zondo, fully fulfilled his assigned responsibility with wisdom and diligence. But more than that, history will record that Chief Justice Zondo established a standard for probity in public affairs that will serve our country for many years to come. Beyond what is contained in the Constitution, what is stated in law, beyond all the regulations and rules, the Zondo Commission has more clearly defined the ethical underpinnings of our democratic state. Our task is now to follow in your direction. Already, we have done much as this government to implement the recommendations of the Commission. To ensure that our country may never again experience state capture, we have introduced and enacted legislation that in critical areas such as public procurement, criminal justice, public administration, and others. The law enforcement agencies have made important progress in investigating and prosecuting alleged perpetrators and have begun to recover stolen funds. As we continue and intensify this work, we are duty-bound to entrench in all public life the ethical standards that the Zondo Commission has helped us to define. During its work, many attempts were made to frustrate and derail the Commission. Further undertaking this responsibility, Chief Justice, you have had to endure a number of personal attacks. You have had to defend the integrity of the judiciary and our courts from opportunistic attacks by those with interest inimical to the rule of law. Yet you have stood firm in upholding the independence of the judiciary. You have stood on principle as you have since your earliest days as a young lawyer. Understanding, as George Wells said, that in time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. This year marks 30 years since we attained our freedom. Yet, despite all what we have achieved, we have much further to go before the promise of our Constitution is enjoyed equally by all South Africans. Many South Africans continue to live in dire poverty, without employment, and without meaningful opportunities for any advancement. Communities continue to be confronted by violence and crime. Corruption continues to erode our institution and diminish our progress. 3 decades after the achievement of democracy, our society still bears the scars of 3 centuries of subjugation, dispossession, and injustice. In such circumstances, our Constitution stands not just as a supreme law of the land, it stands as an instrument of redress and transformation. In striving to build a South Africa wherein all enjoy the shelter and shade of our Constitution, our judges are called upon to be activists for justice. They have been called upon to be champions of constitutionalism, equality, and freedom. Chief Justice Zondo, you have been all of the above. You have been a credit at the bench and at the office of the Chief Justice. We wish you the very best upon your retirement. The nation, once more, thank you for your service. The bench, the legal fraternity, and our country is all the richer because of your contribution. I am confident, says the President, that your important voice and wise counsel will not be lost to us in this new era in the life of our country. Thank you very much. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Minister. I don't know whether the fact that you were chosen to read the President's speech is a sign of things to come. If it is, we're confident that you'll be okay, and we'd be proud of you. CJ, I think that when your parents named you Mnyamezeli and Mlungisi, they were ambitious like all other parents. They must have known that life is not easy. So they named you Mnyamezeli. In the past few years, we have seen you endure unnecessary criticism. I remember saying to you one day that you always smile, even when the going gets tough. Your response was that there is no point in showing everybody, even your enemies, that you are not happy. I admire you for that. Even when your name was unfairly dragged into untruths, I've never seen you angry. That is an attribute of a true leader. Your other name is Mlungisi. Anybody who does not know that you are a problem solver does not know you. You shall go down in history of this country as a person who went deep down and unraveled fraud and corruption and made recommendations made at Ukulungisa, our country. Thanks, Mlungisi. As judges, we know you are results-orientated. You give advice, you give guidance, and have resolved everything you could during the time you were a judge and Deputy Chief Justice and Chief Justice of the country. It was not the first time. The workers in this country know fully well how you always ensure that their rights to human dignity are respected. CJ, we are going to give you, as the justices of the Constitutional Court, just a humble gesture from us as the justice to show you that we have appreciated your leadership and collegiality. We hope that it will also serve as one of the ways with you will remember your time in our court. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me with a round of applause as I invite the Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa to come and accept his gift. Colleagues, can you please help me? Next installment, ladies and gentlemen, I ask the CJ not to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, Mangqede go Chief Justice, kodwa angahambi. Sithi thank you Chief Justice Sohlazi, Mthiyane, Sokhulu, Ndaba, Nguni kamna kamanekwa. Kodwa ke unganyakazi. Chief Justice is married to uMamthembu. Uqhude. Umnisi wemvula ilanga libale. Ungoza kamkhubukeli. Mamthembu, thank you for allowing him to be away from work, from home, and from you and your children. You gave him emotional support, motivation, were ready to listen to his challenges, and all that time you were raising the family with a smile. Siyabonga ntombi enhle. Enesizotha. We decided to also humbly show you our appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me with a round of applause as I request Usthe to come and receive our token of appreciation. CJ, you said mabachate manje, siyabachatisa manje.
Okay.
Hi.
Shortcuts. 6 is 8.
Those are our families. Let us make kahle. This is what happens when you keep quiet. This is what happens, Mamthembu, when you keep quiet and keep your partner in prayer. We appreciate that and we thank you very much. We know you've prayed for this man for so long. Ngowakho ke manje kodwa uphinde usiboleke yena. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there's a last one. Akuphelanga.
Awu, hey, unesipho la ekhaya.
Ejudiciary. Stuff. Sohlaza, kuthiwa mangikutshene ukuthi lena ke iphuma kwi-judiciary. Yes.
Thank you.
Ingathi kuthiwa vula Sohlaza.
Kuthiwa ngifona.
Eh.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. You know, I need all the able assistance. With the able assistance.
College, ladies and gentlemen. College, ladies and gentlemen. For ukuthi CJ makahleli kwakhe acabange asikhumbule fond memories. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Toast. Okay, all right. At this stage, I'm going to call my sister, Justice Theron, to propose a toast to the CJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 1 minute before 10, you're going to appreciate me to say all protocol is observed. Chief Justice, retirement signifies the end of a professional journey, and it is cause for celebration and recognition, and that is exactly what we are doing tonight, CJ. We're celebrating you, the man, the Chief Justice, the legend. It is with great pride, Sohlaza, that I stand, and with more than a tinge of sadness, that I stand here to propose the toast to the wonderful career that you have had. We toast to a remarkable term on the bench and the lives you have touched in the process, and the impact you have had on the entire nation as a judge. The entire nation owes you and your family a huge debt of gratitude for your dedicated and committed service. Nelson Mandela said, "A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination." You prove that to be true. Mtiane, we toast a journey, we toast a new journey that is about to begin as well. A journey that will bring with it new experiences. As you trade the courtroom for the open road, let retirement be an expedition. A new journey in this wide open road that will lead you and stay to new adventures. May you soar May the two of you soar. May you soar together to places you have only dreamed of. Tonight, Sohlaza, we toast new beginnings. While you will be sorely missed, you can take great comfort, CJ, in the fact that you have paved the way for those who will follow in your footsteps. As we look to the future, as we see the hope in the horizon, it is because we truly stand on the shoulders of a giant, and this giant is the CJ. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment of salutary pride and admiration for this great yet humble man in our midst, let us raise our glasses in gratitude to toast the Chief Justice for his years of unwavering dedication and service to a well-earned retirement. Cheers, Chief Justice. We say, long live CJ, long live. We say, halala CJ, halala. Halala Sohlaza, halala. Halala Mtiane, halala. Halala Sokulu, halala.
Thank you very much, Justice Taron. Thank you very much. At this stage, and before I call on the CJ, I really, CJ, need ukukwazisa kahle. Nje qhamukapi wayapi wafunda kuphi. Chief Justice Zondo was born in Ixopo, a small town of the Umkomazi River in the Midlands of KwaZulu-Natal province. He obtained his secondary and high school education at St. Mary's Seminary at Ixopo, where he matriculated. He studied law at the University of Zululand, University of Natal, now University of KwaZulu-Natal, and later at the University of South Africa. He holds the following degrees: B. Juris from University of Zululand, LLB, University of Natal, LLM, cum laude in labor law, University of South Africa, LLM with specialization in commercial law, University of South Africa, LLM in patent law, University of South Africa. Chief Justice Zondo served part of his articles of clerkship at Mrs. Victoria Mxenge's law firm in Durban. Sadly, his articles had to be ceded after Mrs. Mxenge was assassinated by apartheid government agents in 1985. Chief Justice Zondo ceded his articles of clerkship to Mthembu and Partners and later to Chanel's Albertine attorneys. After his admission as an attorney, he became a partner in the Durban law firm known as Mate and Zondo Incorporated, in which he ran a successful practice for a number of years before his appointment as a judge. The Chief Justice also served on a part-time basis as a mediator and arbitrator. In 1991 and 1992, he served in 2 committees of the Commission of Inquiry regarding the prevention of public violence and intimidation, also known as the Goldstone Commission, which investigated violence in South Africa during the early 1990s. In 1994, Chief Justice Zondo was appointed as a member of the ministerial task team, which was given the task of producing a draft labor relations bill for the post-apartheid South Africa. With certain amendments, the bill was later passed as the Labor Relations Act of 1995. In 1996, he was appointed as the first chairperson of the governing body of the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, abbreviated to CCMA, and he held that position until his appointment as a judge. On 1st, 1997, he was appointed as a judge of the Labour Court and High Court, Gauteng Division. With effect from 1st August 1999, he was appointed as acting judge president of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court, and this position was made permanent on 1 May 2000 for a term of office of 10 years. While serving as a judge president of the Labour Courts, he was involved in various committees of the Heads of Court cluster, which covered important issues such as racism, sexism within the judiciary, the use of official languages in court, as well as the organization of the first and second conferences of judges in post-apartheid South Africa. After completing his term of office as judge president in 2010, Chief Justice Zondo returned to the North Gauteng Division of the High Court and resumed his duties as a judge of that court. On 1st November 2011, the Chief Justice was appointed as an acting judge of the Constitutional Court, serving 3 terms until 31 May 2012. On the 13th of August 2012, he was appointed as the Constitutional Court Justice, and in 2017 became the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa. On 1st of April 2022, Deputy Chief Justice Zondo was appointed as Chief Justice. His leadership and delivery of groundbreaking judgments during his tenure in the Apex Court has been a huge privilege to the Constitutional Court, the judiciary, the legal profession, but most importantly, to our country. According to Judges Matter, Chief Justice Zondo's most successful endeavors as Chief Justice are the reforms of the Judicial Services Commission. After the success of his initial workshop in October 2021, Chief Justice Zondo led the JSC to adopt written criteria for judicial interviews in April 2023. Chief Justice Zondo has been honored for his work. In 2011, he was honored by the KwaZulu-Natal Legal Reform, consisting of many legal bodies, with an award for his contribution to human rights in South Africa. In July 2022, the General Council of the Bar awarded him the prestigious Sydney and Felicia Kendridge Award for service to law in Southern Africa. Later that year, he received 2 further awards, namely the Ahmed Kathrada Excellence in Leadership Award from the Congress of Business and Economics. And the second award was from the South African chapter of International Association of Women Judges for his staunch support for the cause of women. In March and October 2023, he was conferred with a Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Law, honoris causa, by Rhodes University and UNISA, respectively, in recognition of his immense contribution to the development of the jurisprudence of this country. The Chief Justice is famously known for the competent and professional way he handled the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state, which is better known as the Zondo Commission or State Capture Commission, established in January 2018 to investigate allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud in the public sector in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding and exuberant round of applause, please join me in calling this giant of our time to give us his reply, as we all thank him for his contributions.
General who are with us this evening, as well as other senior officials, representatives of the legal profession present, members of the bar, members of the attorneys profession, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me start, before I forget, with the most important task of thanking the people who have organized this function, this beautiful function. It's a committee of the Justices of the Constitutional Court, chaired by Justice Mdntv, and assisted by the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice and her team, and guided by the Deputy Chief Justice. Those are the people who have organized this wonderful function. I thought that it's important that I start with them. Thank you, Zunaid Naidu, for playing You Raise Me Up as I was coming to the podium. You Raise Me Up is one of my favorite songs, and I believe it is fitting to play it this evening, because for me, this evening is a special evening that fills me with, on the one hand, joy and an excitement, but also with some sadness, because I'm leaving friends and colleagues behind with whom I've worked very well. It fills me with joy and excitement because I cannot believe that I'm now reaching the finishing line in this journey of 27 years. You Raise Me Up is also fitting because for me, the song is about how one benefits from the support of others. The lyrics say, when I'm down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Then suddenly it says, you raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I'm on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. In my long journey of 27 years on the bench, there have been times when I was down and weary, and troubles came, and my heart was burdened. And somebody came and raised me up so high that I could stand on the mountains and could see what lay beyond the mountains. Raised me up so that I could walk on stormy seas. Indeed, over the 27 years, there have been many people on whose shoulders I stood and felt strong. Some are here this evening. Others could not be with us, but they are alive. Others have passed on. I see this evening's function as affording me an opportunity to look back at my journey, the mountains I have had to climb, the valleys to which I have descended from high mountains, as well as the thick black forests through which I've had to walk, the storms I've had to go through, and of course, the sunny days I've had, which can only be compared to the sunny days of my home city, Durban. This evening's function gives me an opportunity to express my gratitude and appreciation to all those who played a role to ensure that I climbed the mountains successfully. Those who made sure that I crossed the crocodile-infested rivers successfully. Indeed, those who made sure that wherever I fell, I would be able to stand up again, and they urged me on and told me that I was good enough to handle whatever challenges came my way. Tonight, I want to take my hat off to all of them, for they have played a very significant role in my life. I pay tribute to all of them because I acknowledge that I have not achieved all the success I've achieved on my own. Yes, I had to work hard, but sometimes hard work does not give you all the successes that you should have if you have no one supporting you. In acknowledging and thanking those who have supported me, I would like to begin with my late mother. I can never thank her enough for drumming into our heads as her children that education is very important, and for making the sacrifices that she made so that we could get education. In particular, I thank her this evening for sending me to St. Mary's Seminary, a boys-only boarding school, a Catholic boys-only school, where I met Father John Boma, who was the first person to tell me about a bursary, and who gave me the address of what was called then the African Bursary Fund, and asked me to apply to that fund for a bursary. Father John Boma was the principal of the school. He was a priest. He taught us Latin. I passed all subjects very well in his class, but I passed Latin much more than the others. And I think to some extent he liked me for that, because every teacher likes a student who passes their subject well. But he had not asked me anything before he offered me the address of the African Bursary Fund. He just said I must take this address and apply there for a bursary. And I can only say that he must have noticed that I was from a poor family, but I was doing quite well. And that helped me a lot, because I applied to that fund and was granted a bursary, which helped me through up to matric. And then I got to know about the South African Council of Churches, and that fund said I should apply to the South African Council of Churches if I wanted to go to university, because they didn't fund or provide bursaries beyond matric. And I did that. So, apart from my mother, Father John Boma is another person that I would like to pay tribute to tonight for the role he played in my life, for that decision that he made to give me that bursary, that address. But Father John Boma was not to stop there in helping me. You all know of Mr. Bucks, who helped me so that I could go to university. He is late now. He died during COVID. A very good man who didn't take my address, who didn't ask for my ID, who didn't ask me to sign anything before he granted me assistance. He and his family remain very special to me. His wife and his children could not be here this evening, but his grandson is here with his wife. Fired, if you haven't left, please stand up where you are. Thank you very much, Fayat, and thank you for making time to come and be with us. Thank you very much. He represents the family. But Father John Boma did not end there with helping me. When I was supposed to go to university and didn't have the registration fee that was going to be required before I could be registered, because bursaries would come later, and I knew that I was likely to get a bursary from the South African Council of Churches, I went to Father John Boma to say, I need to get to the University of Zululand, but I don't have the registration fee. It was about 300 rand at the time. And he said to me, but you know that I don't get a salary as a priest. So where do I get money from? And I said, well, Father, please try something. And ultimately he gave me 300 rand. But before he asked me, this is not my money, so how are you going to repay it? I said, well, when the bursary comes, I'll pay you. And then he says, if you don't get the bursary, and I said, then I will leave school and go and work and pay you. That was our conversation. And then he took me in his yellow Mazda from High Flats, Oikopo, to Marion Hill, on my way to the Durban station in Durban, where I would catch a train which used to be called 10 by 10 or 1010. Those who studied at the University of Zululand will remember the 1010. So it used to leave at 10 past 10 in the evening and arrive in Zululand at about 5 a.m. So that's how I got to Durban and caught that train to get to university. So on this day, I want to pay tribute to him. He's still alive. He's in Zambia. I think he's approaching his 90s now. He helped me quite a lot. Tonight also gives me an opportunity to express my thanks and appreciation for the assistance that Mrs. Victoria Mdntv gave me. But more than anything, what she gave me when I started articles with her, and Upungane has already spoken about the fact that I got articles with Ms. Mdntv. Upungane is Justice Matlanga. When she took me for articles, she told me that she took me even though they didn't have a vacancy, but that was simply because I had been harassing her, phoning her every week to try and get articles. But she gave me, as it was said earlier on, a big office and a secretary, and said, I want you to open a labor law department for this firm. We have got the work, but we don't know labor law. At that time, labor law was new. It was pioneers like Justice Edwin Cameron, who were people who really knew labor law at the time. I think he had already written a book, if I'm not mistaken. So he said, we don't know labor law, so you will have to make sure that you are in touch with attorneys and advocates who know labor law. Ask them, because when you bring pleadings to us, we will sign something we don't know. You have to protect us by making sure that you have spoken to people who know this thing. And then I can buy whatever books so that this department can flourish. That act on her part gave me a lot of self-confidence. And I believe that it is that self-confidence that subsequently played a very big role in shaping me to be the lawyer that I later became. And for that reason, I remain truly grateful to Victoria Mdntv. I have representatives of the Mdntv family here tonight, and I'm very grateful that the Mdntv family is represented. Would you please stand up so they can see you? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for coming to share this occasion with us. So when I look back at my journey of 27 years, I see those people who came to my assistance when I needed assistance. And some, like Mr. Bucks, who didn't know me at all, who just listened to my story and said, okay, I will assist. I see those people when I look back at my journey of 27 years. And say, they contributed to me being where I am today. When I was down and my soul so weary, when troubles came and my heart was burdened, when I was still and waited in silence, They came and sat a while with me. They raised me up so I could stand on mountains. They raised me up to allow me to walk on stormy seas. I felt strong when I was on their shoulders. They raised me up so that I could be much more than I can be. I'm grateful to them. Indeed, this journey of 27 years was not smooth. There were mountains to climb, and there were valleys to which I descended. There were storms that I had to contend with. But as I say, there were sunny days that I enjoyed. I was very lucky that within 2 years or 3 years of my appointment as a judge of the Labor Court, I was approached by COSATU, who asked me whether, if a vacancy for Judge President of the Labor Court and Labor Appeal Court were to arise, I would be prepared to make myself available because they would like me to make myself available. That was completely unexpected to me at that time. And it was a time when there was no vacancy in the office of the Judge President of the Labor Court. But I was subsequently to think that they knew something that I didn't know, because subsequently there was a vacancy. I agreed to be nominated after reflecting on the matter, and subsequently was appointed first acting Judge President and later Judge President of the Labor Court and Labor Appeal Court. I thank COSATU for having identified me so early in my judicial career, for them to have thought that I could head an appeal court and the labor court at that time. And of course, when I started, there were challenges in the labor appeal court because some of the judges had been appointed to other courts, some of the judges had resigned. I remember that they had come down from 6 to 2 or to 3. But on my second day as acting Judge President, either on the 1st or 2nd of August 1999, I got a call in the morning from one of the judges who asked me whether I had received his letter of resignation, which meant that there were 2 judges left of the permanent judges. Then I was the 3rd. So we could not initially have filled a quorum, but then with my appointment we could. With the support of judges that we worked with, we were able to rebuild the Labor Appeal Court. And ultimately, it had a reasonable number of judges and was able to execute its functions. And when I talk about that era, I want to thank the retired Judge President Wepe, who was one of the senior judges president, for all the support that they gave this young JP, that was me, at that time, in order for me to be able to lead this cause. Thank you very much, JP. It was indeed an honor to have been given the opportunity to lead those two courts. I believe that together with the colleagues that we were with in the Labor Appeal Court and Labor Court, we did a reasonable job. I was expecting Judge Dennis Davis to be here, but I haven't seen him. He was one of the judges that frequented the Labor Appeal Court to assist during my time, and we worked very well with him and others who were there. I said there were mountains to climb, but sometimes there were valleys to which one descended. Retired Chief Justice Mogoeng referred to the time when, in 2009, we were both candidates for positions in the Constitutional Court when there had been 4 Constitutional Court justices who had retired. He has told you that I didn't make it, and I had hoped at that time, because I was nearing the end of my term of office as JP of the Labor Appeal Court and Labor Court, to then get appointed to a higher court. So that didn't happen. Then in 2010, I hoped that I would be appointed to the Supreme Court of Appeal because there were vacancies there. We had interviews in October, but I also didn't make it. So I was forced, after I didn't make it, to also, I was nominated for appointment or reappointment as Judge President of the Labor Appeal Court, because I was hoping that I would leave the Labor Appeal Court to go to a higher court. But that was not to be, because when I had accepted nomination for reappointment as the Judge President of the Labor Appeal Court, somebody whispered to me that there were very powerful forces who were planning to make sure that I was not reappointed. And I knew that those were very powerful forces indeed, and I stood no chance, so I withdrew my nomination. With that, I had to go back to the Pretoria High Court as a normal judge, which was effectively a demotion after having been Judge President for 10 years. I'm simply mentioning this to say nobody must look at this function and look where I am and think that it was all easy. It was not. There were challenges. I'm very grateful to Judge President Ngwebe, who welcomed me with warm hands in his division and treated me very well. I had decided at that time that with not having been successful when I was a candidate for the Concord, with not having been successful when I was a candidate for the Supreme Court of Appeal, and not having been able to be reappointed as judge president because of some forces, I wasn't going to apply for promotion for a long time. I decided that I would focus on the work of the High Court and forget about applying for promotion for a long time. I remember that at that time I was thinking minimum 5 years. But then it was just after a year that I'd been in the High Court that there was a new Chief Justice, Chief Justice Mogoeng, who approached me and asked me to act in the Constitutional Court. And he was right. I was completely surprised that he asked me. And of course, I agreed and acted in the Constitutional Court, and later on made myself available and was appointed. So, whatever journey you are on, do not think that things will always be sweet. There will always be challenges. There will always be disappointments. But begezela, nyamezela, persevere. Remember my name, nyamezela, kuzolunga. Of course, greater challenges lay ahead of me when I was chairperson of the commission. Much has been said about that. I don't want to say much, but I do want to say I will eternally be grateful for the support that I received together with those who were in the commission with me, the support we received from the general public of South Africa through very difficult times. That support kept us going, even when it was very dark. Because wherever I went, I always met people who said, "Thank you for the job you are doing for the country." And that, for me, was such a motivation that we could not let the people of South Africa down. But I want also to thank President Ramaphosa that during that time, his support for the commission was very strong. And he did whatever was necessary to make sure that the commission continued its work, even when there were challenges. When National Treasurer told us there was no money, I would go to him and he would find a way of making sure that National Treasurer released money to support the work so that we finish. There was a time when evidence leaders and investigators went without pay for not less than 3 months. And one of the things that really kept me going also was the commitment of those evidence leaders and those investigators. Because during that time, many of them said to me, "We will not abandon this commission no matter what." And they continued in circumstances where many might have left. And if they left, it would have been understandable because they needed money. They could not work for nothing. but they stayed with me until money was there, and they continued with work with the same commitment. So I just want to acknowledge their dedication on this special day. So when I get all the compliments and praises about the work of the Commission, I always mention, or I often mention, that it was not the job of one person. There were so many people who were behind the scenes who made sure that the work of the Commission was successful. So I thank them today. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the heads of court who have supported me during my term of office as Chief Justice, with whom we have tackled critical issues, and throughout they gave me support. Heads of court, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the cooperation that we have had with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Development, or Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services, before the name was changed. We worked very well with the ministry, and although there are certain issues that remain unresolved, although there are certain issues on which we are critical of them, on the whole, we worked very well. Thank you. And I have no doubt that with the new minister too, the new Chief Justice will work very well. Thank you. Let me come to my colleagues on the Constitutional Court. Colleagues, you have been wonderful. We have worked very well together. We know we disagree on judgments, and we disagree vigorously, but nobody ever thinks it's personal. And we all know that it's the nature of our job. And ultimately, we worked very well during my term of office. I enjoyed your support. I enjoyed your confidence. I hope that the presents you have given me are evidence that you feel that I led you well. Without you, I would not have been able to make the progress, limited though it may be, that we made in regard to trying to get the court to work better. But we dealt with issues together, we confronted the problems, we came up with solutions. Justice Madlanga already mentioned some of the solutions that we have identified as the solutions to some of the problems. So even though they have not been implemented, because before they can be implemented, certain steps still need to be done, including legislative steps, including the hiring of senior lawyers to help us, all of which requires the executive minister. At least we know, as far as we are concerned, the solutions we have identified are the right solutions. All that is left is that they be implemented. Let me touch briefly on the issue of institutional independence. It was one of the issues that I said in my interview for Chief Justice that I wanted to move forward with speed. It was the one issue on which I had hoped to make a lot of progress before I retired. As Justice Badlanga said, I appointed a committee under the chairpersonship of retired Judge President Ngwephe to look into the response that had been given to us by the executive after 10 years and to make recommendations to us, which they did, and we have shared that report with the executive. Unfortunately, only one meeting has taken place, and other meetings that I tried to get were not successful. Letters that I've written to try and push have not been responded. And it's not this minister. And it's not his predecessor either. So I'm hoping, I've accepted that nothing is going to happen before I leave. But I'm hoping that when I've left, maybe progress will be made. It is going to be up to the judiciary to decide what to do about this issue. I have emphasized before that we wanted to reach a settlement through negotiations. But of course, negotiations can't take place if there are no meetings. Other judiciaries on the continent have had to take certain steps in order to force the executives in their countries. They've gone to court. It would be a pity if the judiciary of South Africa is forced into that situation. But it is up to the judiciary to decide. But I know from the conference that we held in December last year, a judges' conference, that a significant number of members of the judiciary are running out of patience. I had no doubt at that conference hall when this issue was discussed that some members were falling short of accusing the leadership of being too soft on the executive. So the new Chief Justice will continue to pursue that matter with the support of all the heads of court. Yes, in 2 weeks' time, I will retire. And I'm looking forward to it. A little sad about leaving my colleagues, but I'm looking forward to it. Over the years, given it my all. I've done my best to serve wherever I've been given an opportunity and to serve to the best of my ability. Sometimes the conditions were such that my best might not seem good enough. But that's simply because objectively, sometimes the conditions do not permit. Let me take this opportunity to thank my wife and children for the support they have given me over many years. Because of being away from home and of the nature of the work I do, my wife was forced to be the one playing a greater role in raising them, because most of the time I was not home. But I think she did a very good job. I would like them to stand up, please, so that they can be seen. Please stand up. The Zondos, Omchian. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Matabam, for your support as well. Thank you for even understanding why your movements had to be restricted the way they were during the July unrest. Thank you for understanding why you had to be affected by something that you had no hand in. Thank you, Mamthembu, again, for all your support. I am going to make sure that at least for the first 12 months, I stay away from any serious work. No, actually, I will stay away from work. Yeah. But lastly, but most importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for having honored me by coming to this function. Each and every one of you fills me with joy when I see you here. Some of you might not know, but there's a reason why you were invited. And there are some whom I have not mentioned here by name, because I know they wouldn't like to be mentioned, who have given me extraordinary support during the 27 years, during difficult times. Thank you very much to all of you. They would feel embarrassed if I mentioned their name, but thank you very much. Once again, thank you to the committee that organized this function. I've enjoyed it. The music was wonderful. And I think because we are here to celebrate, there should be some dancing before we leave. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You may be seated. Chief Justice, thank you for a moving reply, one befitting an evening like tonight. But as we draw to a close, this was a wonderful evening, an evening of joy, tinged with a bit of sadness, an evening of triumph. But in this beautiful and bewildering country of ours, it's an evening that reminds us of the best we can be. And we've had the opportunity tonight, through your eyes and through your work, to celebrate who we are, to celebrate 30 years of our democracy, to celebrate what it means to be a South African, and to celebrate what it means to be committed to the betterment of our society, and how you've used the agency of your life to contribute to a better society serves, I think, as an ongoing inspiration, just not to us, but to the generations that must follow. And so thank you very much, CJ. It's been said that being a judge takes you to a lonely place. But I can say, I think unanimously, and I don't think there'll be any dissents tonight, that working under your leadership has been anything but lonely. The court's a busy place. It's a robust place. It's a place of intense contestation, philosophically, politically, intellectually, and in so many other ways. But in the space that you've created a space for all of us. Even though you are first amongst equals, we felt that we had the opportunity for our voices to be heard and our views to be expressed, even on occasions when we demanded the right to be wrong. You allowed that. Of course, whether we prevailed is another matter. But thank you so much for that. And I think your story reminds us that South Africa is not a country of miracles, even though some would want it to be characterized that way. It's a country of ordinary people who, in the course of their life and in the commitment of their country, were able to do extraordinary things. And you're a shining example of that. And it's in your ordinariness that we can locate our lives and take inspiration from. So thank you so much. But let me do what I came to do here, to do a vote of thanks. But you've done most of it already. So thank you to all of you for your presence here tonight. You've come out looking splendid. You wouldn't say you're judges. You look exciting, and you're going to dance just now. And the CJ has agreed to open the dance as well.